Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're joining us today for yet another webinar, another PMP review session. Today, we mostly talk about emotional intelligence, the teams, and how to set ground rules, intelligence, emotional intelligence. And most people view this as a light topic as compared to the technical bits, but yeah, so we're going to look at this today, and once again, it's Jumoke who is going to take us through this today. As you may recall, she was here last week, and we had a very good session. We're going to have another one again today. Feel free to post on the chat, connect with other candidates who are taking the exam on the same day or the same week as you, encourage each other, even share where you're joining us from. That's good. And encourage others in the group as well to join, because we're starting now. We will start with content as usual, and then we'll do a few quizzes here and there. And then if you have any question, just feel free to raise your hand and I'll be able to unmute you so you can be able to ask your question. But for now, I'll pass it on to Jumoke to take it forward from here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Nelson, for having me here once again. And I'm excited to be here because I love being part of people's success story of passing PMP. I trust that everyone on this call has a note, a pen, or if you are the Gen Z, you have your iPad, or notepad to make notes. It's important that you make your own notes. Today's topic is one of the areas that I find very exciting because I struggled so much on aspects of this when I had my training. When my instructor said, you don't have to do, the first thing he said was, once you are PMP certified, you can manage any projects. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm an engineer. I'm like, are you saying if I'm not an engineer and there's an engineering project I can manage it? He said, of course you can manage. I said, no way. How would I know that this screw needs a star screwdriver, or I need a long nose and not a plier? I said, okay, you are thinking of doing. That is why you are struggling with the sentence I made. But as a project manager, this was 2011. As a project manager, you manage process, you lead people. So it's your responsibility to ensure that the right processes are in place. Then you manage them, but your people, you lead them, and you lead people with emotions as part of it. And that is where the emotional intelligence comes in. Often when we talk about emotional intelligence, people think it's about others. Oh, okay, I need to master emotional intelligence so that I know how to handle people. But emotional intelligence starts with you. You being self-aware. You being aware of your own emotions, your excesses, and the inadequate ones. And then managing those emotions. Those are the first two steps. You need to overcome this or manage it because we are growing. You cannot finish and say that, okay, now I am perfect. After you start these two processes, then you can now translate it into leading your team members. It's like leadership. Leadership starts with you leading self before you can lead others. So I really I love this topic because personally, I have also evolved. I don't know. I don't want people to grow old before they evolved. And that is why we need mentors, we need people to talk about their experiences so that we can learn and not necessarily go through what others have gone through. I also want to encourage you that PMP is doable. It doesn't matter whether you have written it and failed, yours truly passed on the third sitting. And I'm so grateful to God that I didn't give up. You would have lost a voice like mine teaching today, And I know why I failed. I was just overconfident. I was an engineer. I had my MBA, and I was managing projects across Africa. So I was wondering, what do they want to teach that I don't know? I didn't finish my PMBOK. I didn't do any simulation, nothing. I just felt I would go and apply the knowledge I have from my organization. And the first time I failed, they had to come and carry me out of the exam hall because I couldn't believe I failed. And so that experience is part of what I transfer into my training. And I'm grateful that I have a result of 96% of people who sit for their first time passing their PMP exam. This is the time you're supposed to clap for me. All right, so I'm encouraging you, you can do it. You can do it. The people passing, they have one head like you. The difference is they have mastered, they understand PMI's being, mindset, how project manager should lead based on findings of research. So it's nothing like, oh, but I do this within my organization and it works. No. So you can do it. I want you to take deep breath as I led us through last week. Take deep breath, inhale through your nostril and exhale through your mouth. Do that as many times you can to calm you down. Okay. So let's roll. Today, by the end of this session, I'm hoping that you'll be able to decode situational questions on team leadership, apply the PMI 7 leadership mindset confidently, identify best answers, not just technically correct ones, because sometimes some answers are technically right, but they are not the appropriate one for that question. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, the question, even two answers were correct in many questions. My brothers and sisters, it means that the person was in the position I was when I failed PMP. When you master and understand PMP, you will realize that there is one correct answer in each question based on the scenario. And then you'll be able to learn at the end of this session, avoiding high frequency traps that cause failure. I will follow this session in this flow. I will look at big picture, how PMI test leadership. Then task 11, virtual teams. We'll look into virtual teams. We'll look at ground rules. Another way or aspect that we overlook so much. We'll look into mentoring, emotional intelligence, and then I'm going to present some integrated strategy or exam tips. I wanted to include planning to write in 7 days, but I felt that my slides would be too long. So I took that out of the slide. So the big picture, how all these tasks connect. PMI is testing your ability to lead humans in complex environments, not managing tasks. And you see, when you're even writing your exam, it's a complex situation and you are making decisions. And that is what happens when you're actually managing your projects. So these four tasks form a capability chain, engaging people, looking at how you handle virtual teams, structure, behavior. That's what ground rules help us to achieve. Developing people, that is mentoring. You see, that is what you're supposed to be doing, or let me rephrase that. That is part of what you're supposed to be doing as a servant leader. And the PMP questions, bulk of it, we focus on 7 leadership traits that you ought to have. And then adapt to people. That's emotional intelligence. If you yourself don't know that you are irritating, that you can be irritating, like I tell people, I can be annoying. So I'm aware of that. So when people are annoyed, I first check, have I done my usual thing? If I annoyed someone before I came online, I asked a question and the person said, why did you ask this question? And I said, I predicted you would feel this way. And he said, you still ask the question. I said, yeah, that's the last born syndrome. And that was why I asked. So you need to be able to know yourself, to be able to do that. And also remember that PMI is not testing your role in your organization. If you are maybe an assistant operation manager or you don't even have any title as such, PMI expect that as you are writing PMP, you are a servant leader. You are an ethical project management that is driven, project manager that is result driven. Okay, so you are taking decision. You are not escalating it or referring it to your boss. You are sitting in a chair that is a project manager's chair, and you understand the people you are leading, and your focus is on the stakeholders to give them their value, you are communicating well, you are listening well, you are motivating your team members, you are resolving conflicts, you are handling change requests. Those are the things you are doing as a project manager, and those are the things you'll be tested on. So when all these four work together, performance would emerge naturally. Most wrong answers ignore maybe engaging your virtual teams, one of these things, and then it can cause failure. So now let's start. Engage and support virtual teams. It's one of the challenges because as I'm here, I'm wondering, I, no, I'm not wondering for you because I know you are writing exams, so you are likely going to be paying attention. But if it were to be something else, you are wondering whether people have put their laptops on and they are doing something else. But if it was an in-person session, I will not wonder because I can tell whether you are in the class, your body and your mind is in the class. You see, so PMI is testing when it comes to virtual teams, your ability to lead across distance, culture, and time zones. You will not say, anyway, I am in Nigeria and this is my time zone and this is the time that works for me and this is the time we will hold the meeting. As a leader, that's not what you're supposed to do. PMI is also testing virtual environments, magnifying misunderstandings and disengagements. You see, why Agile encourages co-location is because you can pick things quickly and resolve things faster. But if you're working in virtual environments, misunderstanding can be magnified because when somebody is getting angry, you may not even see because you can't see the person. And then PMI is also testing correct leadership sequencing. See, project management or leadership is structured. Is structured. So PMP is also structured. So you must know the structure for predictive, the structure for adaptive, the structure for hybrid. So we are going to look at this, or this is what PMI is testing when you are writing exam that is focusing on leadership. Whether you examine your team needs or you are just focused on yourself, or you explore engagement options, or you just feel that no, this is how it must be done, this way or no way, or you implement solutions. How do you implement solutions? Or you are not mindful of that. They also test your ability to evaluate effectiveness of actions taken. For instance, if you deploy a response to handle risk, that's not the end of it. You need to evaluate whether that response was effective, whether it led residual risk or it resulted in a secondary risk. So your ability to evaluate the effectiveness of whatever measure you are taking is part of what is expected of you as a project manager writing PMP exam. So assessment comes before action. Often when you read question, people just start solving. But in fact, my assumption is we analyze it in our heads and then we just count for solution. No, you read the question, you look for option in the given variables and look for the one that is talking about you understanding the situation better, whether investigate, assess, check, so that you understand before you take action. Now, let's look at high probability exam scenarios, areas that PMI is likely going to ask. Remote member feels excluded. Usually, maybe because you don't see each other, they may feel excluded. So what are you doing to ensure that there is inclusiveness? Meetings ineffective. The example I gave now, that some people they will come online, but they are not behind their laptops, they are doing something else. Your meeting too can be ineffective if you don't arrange it or organize it well. You don't have agenda. You don't have agreed time. You don't send notice on time. You don't send minutes afterwards. It can make it ineffective, or you don't even facilitate it well because you may have agenda and then some people can disrupt the meeting and you come up with agenda that was not part of the earlier agenda. Cultural friction. I am realizing how we overlook this. Sometimes some people, they will tell you they are culturally sensitive, but actually they are not because they don't even understand your culture. So you have to be mindful and think as if you are working with people from different cultures. Don't say, oh, by me, oh, my projects, oh, it's only the people in my area. Remember, what you are experiencing or going through is not the basis for the exam. PMP positions you to be able to manage projects globally, whether in Nigeria, Ghana, wherever you are, Uganda, Kenya, you can manage projects out of where you are. All right. And it's true because your PMP certification is valid anywhere in the world. Communication delays. They will test about communication delay. Is your communication structured well for you to even be able to identify whether there are delays? And then low collaboration. If there are issues and you just make decision, yeah, I'm the project manager and I'm saying this is what we are doing, period. They are trying to see that, or you allow collaboration, you bring people in, you ask them, what do you think we should do? Now, best proposed responses to some of the questions when it comes to leadership. Now, disclaimer, all the things I'm teaching, they are based on my experience. I am not saying, I'm not speaking on behalf of PMI, okay? So best proposed responses, adjust communication channel. If you have stakeholders saying, I want hard copy, somebody says, we should use the project management information system. No, I want you to say, you cannot say, no, let's use the project management information system because that is the ideal one. You are behaving like someone in the Stone Age. No, you find a way of making the stakeholder understand the importance of project management information system, at the same time meeting the person halfway, and hopefully gradually you'll be able to move the person completely to PMIS. Any answer that hints at you facilitating inclusion is likely going to be right. Any answer that shows a collaboration, enabling collaboration is likely going to be a good response. You removing barriers, because that's what servant leaders do. You remove barriers or impediment or blockage from the path or ways of your team members. Any answer that includes you scheduling thoughtfully, being mindful of others, is likely going to be a good response. Now, these are traps that sometimes we overlook, ignoring time zones. Those days that I used to organize meeting and I'm the one leading, I know that any time you give will not favor me. So I will not propose. I say, okay, you choose a time that is convenient for you. And then I would inconvenient myself to make it to the meeting. It's one of the signs of leadership. So if you ignore time zones, it's a trap and you're likely going to pick a wrong answer. Mandating 1, 2 for all that. No, this is what we are using. We are using Delphi technique, no more, no less. It's a trap. So don't be fixated on 1, 2 for everything. Escalating immediately. I think we mentioned this last week, and if you follow me on YouTube, you know that I always speak against escalating immediately. There are situations where you can escalate if it is out of your threshold. If you have attempted resolving it multiple times and you're unable to resolve it, then you can escalate. But most questions, most of PMP questions, will not state is out of your threshold. So the assumption is within your threshold. So you need to first investigate, assess, understand what the issue is, attempt to find solution. If it fails, before you do what, you escalate. Another trap is replacing team members. Let's say they say a team member is not performing, and then the first thing you do is, okay, you know what, we don't have time, come on, where's John? John is my best hands on this project. You are not supposed to do that. You're supposed to first meet with Jumoke, what's happening? What can I do to make your job easier? Is it that information is bad? Let the person tell you what the challenges, then you can find solution. So don't go for option that replaces your team members at the first drop of hat. Then treating remote staff as secondary, as if, oh, they are remote staff, they are virtual. Let me concentrate on the people I can see. Avoid any option that suggests that. Now, this is a tip for you. When virtual issues arise, think engagement solution, not enforcement solution. Engagement solution as in having interaction, talk to the person. This is also applicable to people you are working with in the same location, co-location. Engage the person. Don't just take decision that you think is good for the project. The second task that we need to talk about, ground rules. I say we fail at this on our project. So don't let, because you don't do it on your project, don't carry that into the exam. When you start your project, after you have been issued a project charter and all, the first thing you're supposed to do when you start the project is to identify stakeholders, and then you generate your stakeholder register. The next thing is you forming your team. And forming your team will be so easy or easier if you had your team charter. Your team charter would contain the scope of the project, the sponsor and all that, and the team members. And then you would define roles. Roles are like maybe what the ground manager, the facility manager. And for each role, you will also specify their corresponding responsibilities. So they will be in your team charter. After you have specified the roles that this project will require, let's say it's a construction project, you will need a civil engineer. If it is road, maybe you will need a geologist. And then of what expertise you will specify, and then their responsibilities. Then you will now look within the organization. Do I have a civil engineer of this expertise? Do I have a geologist of this expertise? If you do, you assign those roles to them. They know their responsibilities. If you do not, this is where you consider making or buying decision. Are we going to employ someone? Okay, after the project, would we need that expertise? Okay, now let's outsource it, or let's take a consultant. You make that decision. If you have to go outside the organization, that is where procurement comes in, and then you come up with contracts, whether it's going to be cost reimbursable, fixed price, or time and material. Now, in the team charter, you are going to have ground rules. Ground rules, and this is usually created at the beginning of the project. And you let the team members also contribute to creation of these ground rules. So ground rules define acceptable behavior, expectations, and norms that enable effective team collaboration and performance. Why do you need ground rules? It helps in determining what the team should do. And these are the benefits. It helps in creating clarity, improving communication, building trust and respect. When you see teams that do not that lack trust, you can tell from performance. It also helps in reducing conflict because I know your functions, I know your responsibilities, you know mine. There is no way I will do something and I say, oh, I thought I was the one that's supposed to do it. Or I will not do something and I say, but I thought you were supposed to do that, because the team charter specifies the roles and their corresponding responsibilities. And it would also specify how even meetings will be held. It will also specify how conflict will be resolved. So it enhances accountability. You know that this role, these are my responsibilities. So if they are asking you, you cannot feign ignorance or innocence that, oh no, I didn't know I was supposed to do it. And ground rules also drive performance. I'm happy to share these slides with you if you are interested. Now, ground rules will cover communication norms, meeting etiquette, decision processes, conflict handling, respect standards, availability expectations. An example of ground rules are this: start and end meeting on time. Okay, well, our meetings will be 1 hour, so it means you start on time and end on time. Respecting all opinions. When someone is talking, don't interrupt. You escalate issues early, not late. That's when it's out of your threshold. Use agreed communication channels. You know, this sometimes people use it like when they say send email, but there's something urgent. You send email in a team where there is trust and understanding. You will send the email, but you maybe send WhatsApp message or text. I have sent something that requires your attention promptly. Meet deadlines or communicate risk in advance. It will be specified in the ground rules. And then focus on solutions, not blame. In fact, even in your exam, as a project manager, if something goes wrong, don't never pick an option that blames any of your team members. Don't. And of course, I had to add this: don't eat in the office, go to the cafeteria. Some people will say, oh, it's a work. I just said, let me quickly take a bite. Because sometimes I enter banking hall and I can tell the food someone ate in the banking hall, which shouldn't be. It means the person is breaking the ground rules. Your responsibility as a project manager is to communicate this clearly, reinforce consistently. If somebody breaks the rules, please, however you have specified in the ground rules to handle it, adhere to it. Model compliance. This is you walking the talk. Don't say do as I say, but don't do as I do. Model compliance and address violations constructively. Even if I broke the rule, don't reprimand me as if there's no tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I meant by address violations constructively. Now, these are some exam traps. Ignoring misconduct. That's okay. This person, if I say this now, the person will get angry. If you don't address it, it's a bad signal to others that they can also do that. Public reprimand. That no, let me show everybody that if I reprimand you publicly, nobody will repeat such. Please, no, don't do that for PMP. Escalating before dialogue. There's issue. You have not spoken to Jumoke, and then boom, you escalate. I call it gossip. 4, changing rules without agreement because you are the project manager. Okay, you know what? Earlier, I said that we should all get to work 8 a.m., but I'm changing it to 7 a.m., and that's it. Please, never do that. 5, overly rigid enforcement. You see, when you set rules and you involve people, it increases the buy-in. You'll be hearing, we did this, we agreed to. But if you do not involve your team members, you don't collaborate to come up with things, you'll be hearing they say we should do it. And it's not expected of you as a project manager to do that. Now, PMI approach, private conversation first. If something is going wrong, talk to the person first. 2, reinforce agreed rules. Because 1, you will make the team charter available to everyone. Everybody knows what we agreed on because we all participated. And so whatever we agreed on, you, the project manager, is your responsibility to reinforce it and then restore alignment. Sometimes, out of excitement, even at meetings, people will be going off track. It's your responsibility to restore alignment. So, firm and respectful will lead to servant leadership. You are firm, but you are respectful of your team members. That's what is expected of you as a servant leader. Now, mentoring relevant stakeholders. Mentoring is not limited to your team members. So, sometimes it's extend to even your vendors. So, mentoring strengthens both performance and morale. And it's appropriate when there is skill gap, confidence issues. Sometimes, as a project manager with experience, you can tell that this person has the capability to be able to do something, but the person is self-doubting. Oh, I don't think I can do it. This is where you boost the person's confidence. When new members join an existing team, they feel like outsiders. This is where mentoring is also relevant. For future leadership development, you can tell maybe in the next 6 months we need this position, and I see that Jumoke, you are good. Can you try this? Okay, you do it this way. Okay, why didn't you do this? My students, when they ask me questions, the first thing I do is I ask them, what do you think the answer is? And somebody got angry and said, "Oh, why? If I knew it, I would not come to you." And I also said, I don't want to spoon feed you. I want you to think through. So it's my responsibility to help you think through. And that is how people actually identify potential leaders. So when there's maybe future leadership development goal, you mentor as a project manager. When there are repeated mistakes without malicious intent, you can tell that, oh, this person genuinely is making this mistake. It's not because he wants to cause any harm. You understand? You also mentor that person. Okay? So look for this in response: coaching conversations, knowledge sharing, pairing with experienced staff. This is mostly coaching. No, mentoring. Coaching is when you help individuals to apply the skills they require from upskilling. That is training. And usually, mentoring, you pair an experienced professional against, for lack of better words, novice, right? Then also look out for providing feedback, getting feedback from your team members, or even you also giving feedback. Look for options that encourage growth. Okay. And also, these are some of the traps. Immediate removal. Like I said earlier, if someone is not performing, don't just remove them immediately. Escalating to HR. No, you have to first address the issue. Micromanagement. I have a whole topic on micromanagement. I hope I'll get to record it one of these days. Then ignoring the issue. Don't ignore issue. I tell people the reason why the team is in existence is because of the project to deliver value to the stakeholder. This is not when you are now talking about old student association or La Liga, or which one is the other one? La Liga, Euro, something, all those matches. That's not why you are there, you know. And then another trap is doing the work yourself. That, I don't want you to waste my time. I can do it myself, avoid responses that suggest that. PMI would reward answers that grow people while protecting the project. Okay. People should finish projects and be better than they started the project. Now, promoting performance using emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence determines how you handle conflicts, resistance, stress, and personality differences. If you yourself, you have all these issues, how will you be able to? That is why it's important for you to first self-assess and then self-manage your emotions before you can do that of others. Now, areas of emotional intelligence competencies that will be tested. Self-awareness. See that I've mentioned this a few times already. Excuse me. Empathy, emotional regulation, adaptability, your willingness to change your mind. It's okay to adapt to situations and say, oh no, I've been doing this for the past 10 years. You cannot make me change my mind. Then social skill. How EI is applied in project that will be tested. Tailoring communication style. You remember your pull, push, uh, encoding, decoding noise, and what is the noise, your gender, your training, your experience, and all that. So sometimes the choice of words, even the mode, if you are working with team members that are experienced, you don't need hand holding. Give them short instruction, they know what to do. If you are working with new entrants into the project management profession, then you need lots of hand holding, lots of explanation. So you need to tailor your communication style. Don't say, as for me, this is how I say it. This thing I just said is so easy for me to say because I am highly choleric, that I'm working on polishing how I drop things. Okay. Managing difficult stakeholders, no matter how difficult your stakeholders are, never take option that is saucy or cheeky. No, don't think that, after all, I told you at the beginning of the project, you cannot come and worry me whether you like it or not, take it or I leave it. No, never, please. Or de-escalating conflict, building trust, understanding motivations. These are that when you work with people, what motivates them is different. Like the McGregor's theory, that you have hygiene factors and then you have um, motivator factors. The hygiene factor is improving a working environment, maybe salary increment, and then you have the motivator that is talking about career path and all that. So some people, they just want recognition. Thank you very much, Jumoke, for ensuring that we got a clean room to have today's meeting. Everyone, let's clap for Jumoke for making this possible. That's all Jumoke wants. But someone else wants certificates in addition, certificates of recognition. You understand? So you need to understand your team members and then motivate them in the way that resonates with them. PMI is not testing your knowledge of specific models because they know you may know the models. They are testing whether you observe behavior, you interpret needs, and you adapt your approach. You are not fixated on one approach. These are some of the traps you should look out for. Ignoring emotions. That no, I cannot babysit you. I'm not your mother, I'm your project manager. Come on, you cannot be crying here. Using authority to silence concerns. Look, I'm the project manager here. You must listen to me. They are looking for it's a trap. A public confrontation. It happens, then boom, labeling issues as personal. Things that you need to address, you have labeled them as personal. Choosing process solutions for people problem. When you are resolving issues that has to do with people, you cannot go the process way. Okay. When people dynamics are central, emotional intelligence beats technical action. You cannot use technical action or process to solve human behavior or challenges. Okay. Now, this is integrated exam strategy that Jumoke came up with. Typical question pattern. Maybe there'll be a struggling team. They are not meeting up their goal. They are behind schedule 2 weeks. Stakeholders are arguing. That's behavioral issues, or a sponsor or key stakeholder is bypassing communication channel and is going directly to team members. It will paint a scenario that is like lots of pressure is there. What should you do? And sometimes you get caught up with the narration that you want to find solution quickly, and then you get out of structure. The best answer you usually involve direct communication. If a team member is struggling, speak to that team member. If two stakeholders are having issues, meet with them and try to understand why. Maybe they are coming up with requirements in the middle of the project. You have conversation, you refer to the scope, management plan, and all that. Root cause understanding. You don't solve problem without understanding what caused it, and that's where Ishikawa or fishbone would be useful. Collaboration, having conversation to make decisions, to do things. Coaching or mentoring. Coaching comes immediately after training. Training is when people acquire skills for immediate tasks that they need to do. And coaching is when you guide them to apply those skills to the acquired skills to the task. And mentoring is a longer term relationship between a pro and a novice. Then reinforcing agreements. You have agreements in the team charter, or even as it were, project agreements, reinforcing it for both your team and stakeholders outside your project. And adjusting your leadership style. Often when I get to the training, the topic craft leadership style, I ask my students, what's your leadership style? And most people will say consensus. As for me, I talk to them, and then and I say, oh, it's good. It's good to have a consensus style of leadership. But you need to also understand all the other leadership style. There are situations that warrant consensus leadership, but there are also situations that warrant autocratic decision. If fire is burning, this is not the time to say, okay, how many of you agree that we should use fire extinguisher or we should use water? 1, 2, 3. You cannot do that at that moment. And that is why, as a project manager, you need to continuously learn, because in a situation where you may not be able to go for consensus decision, you have to make decision that is based on data. You cannot just say, let me do this. Okay. So your leadership style, you have to adjust your leadership style. The approach you have at the beginning of project is not the same style you will use in the middle of the project or towards the end of the project. Okay. So before selecting an answer, ask yourself, does this build trust? Does it improve team effectiveness? Does it respect individuals? Does it address the cause, not the symptom? Is escalation truly necessary? If yes, you are likely choosing the best answer. I also tell my students, God is a wonderful being. He has given you your immediate team members, and they are your family. If we want to know whether you are a good project manager, we should go and ask your children, your wife, or your husband, your mother, or your father. Now, sometimes people look at me and say, "Oh, you mean I like your parenting style?" Then I tell them how I was when my kids were younger, that I wasn't always like this. But I remembered, or somebody preached to me about how children watch what you do than what you say. So now I had to consciously work on my excesses. I'm driving, and the public transport driver is insulting me. In my head, I'm insulting back seriously, but outwardly, I'm calm. And the kids are wondering, Mommy, this person is insulting you. Why you know I'm gonna say? I will be saying, you have no idea. That is leadership. That's what you are supposed to do. Okay. So it is not about how you feel. Sometimes you have to, swallow how you feel or what you want to say as a leader, because you are looking at the bigger picture and not just the immediate situation. And when it happens like that, you even get your team members come to you and say, "Oh, boss, I'm so sorry I said this, I mean, I think I didn't understand better. But can you imagine if you had escalated and thrown everything upside down, if the team member would come back to apologize to you? So I included this cheat sheet, like summary of everything that I've said. For virtual teams, I have do's and don'ts, or what you should avoid. One of the things that you should do: assess needs first. So if you don't remember anything that I've spoken about, pay attention to this cheat sheet. Assess needs first before solution. Promote inclusion. Avoid having favorites on your team. You are digging your own grave. Then adapt communication. Don't have one way of communicating. Remove barriers. That's the 7 leadership traits. And evaluate continuously what you are doing. Am I doing it well? I mean, even getting feedback from your team members. What do I do that you like? What do I do that you would like me to change? Is part of you evaluating continuously. What you should avoid: avoid one size fits all solutions and everything. This is what we will do. Years ago in Ghana, our political, only one of our election year, a certain political party, any question they ask, free SHS, free senior high school, any question, the medical doctors, oh, free SHS, the farmers, free SHS. Don't have a one size fits all solution. Avoid ignoring time zones or culture when you are scheduling meeting, or and all that. Avoid escalating before you diagnose what the problem is, because maybe after diagnosis you will be able to handle it. Avoid treating remote staff as if they are not as important as those that you can see physically or you are co-locating with. When it comes to ground rules, these are the do's. Establish your ground rules early. Communicate clearly. And one of the ways to communicate clearly is, after you have communicated, ask, what's your understanding of what I just said? Then model behavior, walk the talk, address violations privately first. Don't be caught up with, I want to show where power lies. Avoid public reprimand. Avoid ignoring violations. Avoid arbitrary changes. Avoid immediate escalation. When it comes to mentoring, these are the do's: coach and support your team members. Develop capability. Provide feedback. Don't say, oh, 6 months ago you did this. I'm just watching you. I'm just looking at you. Don't do that. Encourage growth. What you should avoid: immediate replacement. When someone is not doing well, don't replace them immediately. Don't micromanage. Don't ignore skill gaps. And don't avoid doing the work yourself. You are not to do. You are to manage process, lead people, and have business acumen. Understand how your project fits into the strategic goal of the organization. Then emotional intelligence. Please listen actively. I included actively because sometimes we don't listen enough. Sometimes we listen to respond. Show empathy. Showing empathy doesn't mean you now go and tell your customer or sponsor, Jumoke was supposed to do it, but it rained at the end, so she couldn't come. You empathize that, oh, Jumoke, your car got stuck in the mud, but then you find solution to the task Jumoke was supposed to do. Adapt communication style. I think I've explained that already. Manage conflict calmly. You see that if there's conflict and you yourself, you're everywhere, hey, God, the people you are leading, what do you want them to do? Then build trust. Trust, and this is also one of my favorite saying: vulnerability is from the place of strength. Vulnerability is from the place of strength. If you, as a project manager, you can tell your team members that, oh, wow, I don't know how to do that. Can you explain it to me? That's you being vulnerable. Okay. And when you do that, it makes it easier for your team members to also ask, oh, I don't know this. Can you explain it? But if you come as perfect every time, if they don't know, they can't ask. Okay. So, and that builds trust, transparency, being accountable for your actions or your inaction, walking the talk, build trust, avoid authority-driven responses. Yes, say, why are we doing this? Because I say so. Ignoring emotions, avoid it. Avoid public confrontation, avoid technical fixes for people issue. Fixing people issue is not a quadratic equation, B squared equals, no. I also included golden PMI people rule. People problems require people solutions. Before choosing an answer, ask yourself, does this build trust? Does it address root cause? Does it empower rather than control? Is escalation truly necessary? Does it reflect servant leadership? If yes, then you can choose that option. Think like a human-centered project leader, not a task controller. So with this, we've come to the practice question. You can note your questions, because I think last week, I don't know whether I gave you room to, I think I did last week, to ask me question. Yeah, so I will be revealing the questions just as we did last week. You would attempt, and then I will show the answer, and then if it requires explanation, I will give the explanation. I hope that is okay. Nelson.
Yes, that's it. That is okay.
Okay. So this is the first question. A globally distributed team shows declining collaboration. Two senior members from different regions openly contradict each other during meetings, causing junior members to withdraw. Deadlines are now at risk. What should the project manager do first? Escalate to functional managers to resolve cultural tension. B, establish stricter meeting protocols and decision rules. C, meet privately with both individuals to understand concerns. And D, replace one member to restore harmony. Let's have your answers.
Okay, so everything on the chat is C.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's the answer, so no explanation. Question 2. A remote specialist rarely contributes in meetings, but delivers high quality work on time. Other team members perceive this as lack of commitment and complain to the project manager. What should the project manager do? A, require video participation in all meetings. B, discuss communication preferences with the specialist. C, report the behavior to the sponsor. D, document the concern in performance records.
Okay, we have 1A and we have B's, we have 1B as well.
Okay, so maybe we need some conversation.
Yeah, probably let's get some hands. 1B, the hand for A, and also D. So feel free to just raise your hand. Okay, I'm going to go with Charity. You can unmute.
Thank you. For me, I chose A. Since in the lesson, in the teaching, our instructors mentioned that sometimes we have to adjust the leadership style. How we started is not how we end. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Charity. We'll go to Gagaga.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you, madam, for that. To me, I chose C because here it seems there is no contribution that is speaking to other. He does a very well good. We think that also could be imparted to other if he speaks. And there is a long perception from others that is not committed and they are complaining. So if we do a video that does not address the core issue, documenting we can also does not address the root cause of not contributing. Report to sponsor is even bad, that is escalating. We can escalate where necessary and not only necessary. We escalate what we understand. You cannot just say, boss, look there. What is it? Just look, you see it. You need to tell, in my own, I thought this was the challenge and I think this and this and that. So we must do. So the answer B, we need to discuss the preference of that specialist with him privately to really understand the root cause, and then from there we can come with a solution. Thank you.
Right. We'll take one more. We'll go to Michael. Michael, your mic is activated. You can unmute. If not, we'll go to Susan.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Madam Jumoke, for this presentation. So for me, I chose B, though I couldn't type in the chat box. I don't know. This thing is not showing me. So because there's something she said about PMI approach, that's private conversation first. We'll discuss with the specialist what exactly is the problem. I'll go with the last speaker. We discuss the challenges. Why are you not really contributing in any meetings, even though you deliver a high quality job? So we discuss privately, know what the problem is, know what the maybe it's the general meeting, or he's not comfortable. We'll be able to identify what the problem is from discussing just on one-on-one basis with the specialist before any other thing. So I chose B for an answer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So yeah, B is the answer. You discuss communication preferences with the specialist. Requiring video participation in all meetings means that you are looking for proof. Why don't you want to first have conversation with the person to understand? It could be language barrier, it could be, maybe the person stammers, and it could be anything. Because the person is delivering well, but it's just not contributing when they are talking. They report the behavior to the sponsor. If there are issues, you first need to have conversation with the person that is affected before you do that. Document the concern in performance. It's also like reporting. It's like you do nothing. Okay, let me just report for future. I don't want any trouble, so that they will know that the fault is not mine. No. So B is the appropriate answer. And then question 3, a highly skilled team member frequently